Hey everyone, welcome back to Creation Depot. My name is Wendy Literal, and today I'm going to be talking to you about storing your critical website information safely. So, we all have websites and we have domain names, and do you know who is your host? Do you know who is your domain name registrar? If you do, bonus points. A lot of businesses I work with, and this is why this is so important, is they have had this stuff for years. I have walked into websites that were over a decade old and said, "Hey, we need a redesign. Please help us out." Yeah, we don't know who our login information is or anything like that because it just got billed to a business card for the last 10 years and they just knew it was a monthly expense, and the login information got lost and the person who had it didn't work here anymore, and there's a million reasons why this stuff walks off. But I mean, let's do something about it because it's critical information, and I'll tell you why. All right, so first things first, I've always got my notes, and the first thing that I want to talk about is your domain name. So basically, the long and short of a domain name, the little thing that says www.mynamehere.com or whatever your version is, that is governed, is a nice way to say it, by ICANN. And ICANN, ICANN, this is what it stands for. And basically what they do is it's like a bottleneck so that nobody can have the same domain name. Everything is individually registered. Everything it's got rules behind it. And unfortunately, what I run into a lot of times is, more often than I care to say, is people will have their previous designer register the domain name on their behalf because they're not techie, but then the designer will register it to themselves because they're buying it maybe with their credit card, and they're maybe billing like a third party bill to the client, and the client's just been paying this money, just not paying attention. But now that we're looking into it, we're realizing this isn't registered to you, honey. Like, this is not good. And why is that a big deal? Because if, let's say, you part on bad terms, or the designer doesn't do design stuff anymore, or whatever the reason may be, maybe it's amicable, like maybe you guys parted ways in a nice way. But if it's not registered to you, you don't own it. You don't own it. I mean, you don't technically own a domain name anyway. It's like rented space, but you don't want that to be in somebody else's name for many reasons, like especially if it's malicious reasons, because they can do anything they want with it, and you don't own it. Nobody has to give it to you. Nobody has to give it to you because it's registered to them. So what do we do about that? Basically it comes down to doing your homework and finding out, well, who has my domain name. Where is it registered? Hopefully you know the answer. And if you do, bonus points. You can kind of skip ahead a little bit. But basically what you need to do is go down to whois.sc. And whois.sc, it was the simplest one. There's many different ways you can look this up, but this is the one that I find to be the least spammy. Let's put it that way. And you type in your domain name, and it will bring up a public records list of who this domain name is registered to. Now, hopefully your information displays here and you can just know right away that it's registered to you, it's done deal. There are three contacts with a domain name, and you want to make sure that your name is at least in the administrative one. And if you want to have your technical one be registered out to your web designer or your not your hosting company, but like whoever does your tech stuff, fine. But as long as your name is on there, make sure it's on there. And if somebody else is on there, make sure you trust them, because again, they can change your information. So what you want to do is that if your domain name is registered to somebody else, if it's registered to you and you see that your information is there and it's up to date, like the information is there, that is correct, your email address, your address, your phone number is great. If somebody else's information is there, you need to reach out to them as soon as possible and be like, "Hey, it's been brought to my attention that this should really be in my name. Can you give me the login details so I can make that change?" You can only change this information once every 60 days. That's it. I mean, it's not a new rule. It's been around for a long time now, but it is a rule set in place so that domains can't get swapped between people quickly, and then people get caught in like fraud situations and like money's involved and all kinds of stuff. So they just put down a rule that said, "Hey, we're not doing this anymore. Once you change your information, it's stuck for 60 days. So make sure that you get it right." If your domain name comes up and it shows like private registration, things like that, you have your domain name under private registration, which is great because when it's public record, you will get spammed to death. I mean, if you get a lot of spam and your information is out there on this public record, this could be likely where it's coming from. And it opens you up to a lot of fraudulent activity. Like, I can't tell you how many emails my clients have gotten saying, your domain name is about to expire in 3 months. You need to register right now. You need to send us money so that you do that. Now, there's that scam is twofold. It is one, if you send them money, and that could be it. You sent them money, and now you've just lost the money. They didn't do anything for you. But you could also have sent them money, and they're a legitimate business, like technically, and they go in and they renew your domain name, but now they've transferred it to them. And you know what I just said about you having to have your information on there, or you don't own your domain? Yeah, they take it hostage, and they won't renew it for you. Or they will renew it at a higher price, or they will hold it for you and they'll say, well, we're not going to release this to you unless you give us $2,500. Or your renewal just went up to $500 a year for a $15 domain name. Let's say you got there and it is privately registered. Okay, great. Fantastic. You need to go to the hosting company that is listed there, because it will list the hosting companies, or not the hosting companies, I'm sorry, whoever the domain registrar's information is. Sometimes that is your hosting company. Like, you can register domain names through GoDaddy. You can register them through Green Geeks. I don't recommend GoDaddy at all. I recommend Green Geeks. They're awesome. But if you register it through the private registration, their information is going to show up, and you need to contact them and say, hey, I need to make sure that my information on this is correct. Will you look it up for me? And they will ask you some questions, and it will basically be along the lines of just kind of sussing out, are you the right person? And if your information does not match what is listed in either one of those 3 contacts, they will not help you. So private registration can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse, because if you're trying to figure out who has your domain name details, you might be stuck. Hopefully you have the login information and you can just go in and look at it yourself on the back end and just kind of make the changes. But if your information is not on there, they will not help you. So that's why it's important to kind of get it right from the gate. If you don't have it right, take the steps to make it right, because at some point in your business life, it will bite you in the butt. All right, so let's talk about hosting. Your hosting account is kind of in the same boat, where you need to make sure that it is registered to the business owner, and only someone with legal authority, like let's say the owner passes away or something, they can go in and do something about it. But it's not really recommended to go through your web designer to do those things, because again, same thing with the domain name. If they own it, they own it. Ooh, hi. Just turn you off. So let's say your hosting company, you've forgotten the login details and your information, you need to go in and do it. Again, they're not obligated to help you if the person on the file does not match you. So again, it's better to have it registered in your name, and then you just give your web designer the login details. They can do everything they need to do just by having your login information to the hosting account. They don't need to have it registered to your name. Now, one thing I will tell you that I have run into with hosting accounts from the people that register their domain or their hosting accounts by themselves is that they don't mark down when their credit card expires. And let me tell you, that's why that's important. If your credit card expires, you should get an email saying, hey, your credit card's expired. It's coming up to being expired. You need to do something about this. Otherwise, you're going to lose your hosting services. Hosting services include your email too, guys. So it's not just your website that could go down. It could be your email too. So what do you do about it? All you do is you just open up your digital calendar and you stick the expiration date for that credit card on your calendar, so you know, preferably like a month in advance, just in case there's any kind of weirdness, that you can go in. Like if you say forget your login information, or you're not the person on the account, get it ahead of time so that when your credit card expires, you have a chance to do something about your reconnaissance work to get into the hosting account before it becomes a problem, because they can't renew to a dead credit card. So that is something you need to keep in mind too. And also, I've had it where people they change their email address halfway through the year, or halfway through whenever their hosting account, whenever they signed up, however much space is between when they signed up and when their card expires, and they change their email account and they no longer use that account because they decided that Gmail was much easier, which is fine. but they don't get the notification that their hosting account has expired. And then they call me and they're like, hey, our website is down, my email is down, and I can't get to anything. You didn't pay them. So that's kind of where you need to keep things organized. And I'm going to go into next about what you need to have. And I do, like I said at the beginning of the video, I do have a printable that will, I hope I said at the beginning of the video, that there is a printable that will tell you what to keep, where to keep it, that kind of thing, and just what information you need to have, and just put it with your regular business documents, like where you keep your taxes and stuff, and that's all you need. It's just your business licenses, just keep it all with that information so that you have it in case you need it, because that one time 3 years from now when you need it, at least you'll have it. So first things first, I'm going to show you what I used to do. I'm a very visual person, as you can see with all my sticky notes and my vision board up there and everything else. Like I have to see things. Like I'm a creative, so everything I do is visual. And what I used to do, and I still do to some degree, and most of the stuff I keep in Trello now, because Trello is fairly visual and it's digital, so I can just search for everything. But I just used a regular folder, and I put the company name, and then inside here I would just keep things like my contracts and my just anything I had, like color samples or sketches or outlines or pictures of whiteboards that I did, things like that. And then on the outside, right here, usually like here, or I wouldn't usually have it right here, and I would write the name of the hosting company, I would write the login information for the hosting company, I'd write the domain name information, and I'd write the same thing down here, and I'd have my renewal dates for the client. And the reason I did that was not because I was going back and checking all my folders, but because I had the login information right there with my client's information. If I ever needed it, I just go and pull their information, and I would pull it out and go look it up and go, oh yeah, there it is. And it doesn't change 99% of the time. So if somebody changed the password on me, of course it wouldn't work, but this system worked for me for like 10 years, guys. Don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you have a folder of important documents, just write it on the outside of the folder. It's going to go into a filing cabinet and die anyway, so. But I do have that printout so that if you want to know what information you need to be archiving, you'll have it. Alright guys, so that's it. You just need to know where your domain name is and where your hosting is, and have it stored somewhere that is going to be safe for your business and anybody who comes after you. Download is in the description below. Please do give likes and comments, especially comments. If you just want to say thanks, Wendy, in the comments, that is phenomenal. That makes Google happy, makes the video bump, makes it so I can make more videos, so it's pretty important, so I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys, so thank you so much for coming out, and I'll see you in the next one.